One of the main purposes of doing estate planning that we always talk about with our clients is not necessarily doing your will or your trust just so that you can say, you know, who gets what of your stuff after you pass away. One of the main things is planning for incapacity while you're still alive, but specifically if you were to get Alzheimer's or dementia or some sort of cognitive disability like that. It's, you know, a lot of us have been impacted either by a family member, we've seen it or know somebody, and it's just horrible disease that takes a toll on the family, but has some real creates some real roadblocks for the family as well, because there's a lot of things that they just are not able to do. For example, if a person who has Alzheimer's owns a piece of real estate and that piece of real estate is only in their name, or maybe they have a bank account that's only in their name, well, once they are in that full-blown stage of dementia where they really cannot function, they're not going to be able to access those bank accounts. They're not going to be able to sell that real estate if they need to sell it for financial reasons or because they need to be moved into some sort of assisted living facility or something like that. So you really want to make sure that you have everything taken care of. And a lot of the stuff that you take care of before becoming diagnosed can be done immediately after being diagnosed, because typically, again, this is, you know, not all of the time, but typically you will get, you know, you'll start noticing that you're having memory loss or something like that, or if you're going in for your regular checkups and different things, you might get some sort of diagnosis that says, hey, we're starting to see early onset dementia, or we're starting to see some Alzheimer's, something like that. That doesn't mean you can't do any planning after that, but it does mean you probably need to make the appointment with your planning attorney and start getting everything in place, because things can go bad from worse very quickly, sometimes even overnight. So a couple of the things that you want to do, you want to make sure that you have an updated power of attorney. And that power of attorney is going to allow somebody else, we would typically call that person your agent, they're going to be able to act on your behalf if you're unable to do so. For those examples of selling real estate, accessing financial records, signing legal documents, that type of stuff, if you have them named as your agent in your power of attorney, you'll be taken care of. They'll be able to do those things. But again, if you've got a power of attorney that's 10, 15, 20 years old, you definitely want to update it, because laws change and it may not include all of the things that, you know, maybe you just had a limited power of attorney because you traveled a lot. You want to have it updated, most current power of attorney up to date with all the laws. You also want it to be what's called durable, meaning that it can be used after you've become incapacitated, because a lot of times some of these very typical powers of attorney that just might be called a general power of attorney don't allow someone to use it if that person has become incapacitated. So that's number one, must do right away. The second along those lines is to update your healthcare proxy, your healthcare power of attorney. Who have you named to make medical decisions on your behalf? Again, typically this is going to be separate from your power of attorney. There's going to be a separate legal document. Even if you have one, again, if it's been a couple of years, update it. Just make sure that it's updated with the most current laws. Maybe the people that you named in it to make medical decisions on your behalf are no longer the people you want to make those medical decisions. Maybe they've passed away. So take a look at that and update that. Number three, you want to plan for long-term care, right? Now, it might be too late at this point to get any sort of long-term care insurance. Again, depending on where you're at, if you've been diagnosed, depending on your age, depending on a whole host of factors, but it's certainly worth looking into. And if you're unable to get long-term care insurance, you might want to look at doing some sort of Medicaid trust so that you can qualify for Medicaid. Again, have that conversation with your planning attorney, because last thing you want is while you're in that state, you are unable to pay those long-term care costs and you run out of money and you're unable to qualify for Medicaid or some other type of benefit. So look into that. And then lastly, you know, let your wishes be known, right? Talk with your family members, make sure that you have a couple people lined up to kind of, you know, guide you through that process. Very painful, but you want to make sure all of your wishes are known and you've kind of got in place who's going to help you out. So hopefully you never need any of this, because hopefully, you don't get diagnosed with any sort of Alzheimer's, dementia, anything like that. But if you haven't been diagnosed or anything, you go ahead and get these things in place. And if you have, again, run, don't walk, make sure you get everything done, because things can go from bad to worse very quickly.